Yon! What's up guys and good evening. So, what's up? Di ko na patatagalin pa kasi medyo late tayo nag-start. So, good evening to everyone with us tonight. So guys, before we start, pa-comment naman if everything's clear, if my audio's clear, if everything's good. So yun, so good evening sa mga ka-investor natin dyan. Hopefully, everyone is having a good Saturday night. And I'm actually really excited, no? Because today is our second to the last day. Labas ko lang yung calendar natin. On our road to the Trading Cup. This is something we decided to do to help everyone prepare, everyone na lalaban. Prepare for the Trading Cup by connecting you guys with the champions, the previous champions. But of course, not only to the participants of the Trading Cup, but we decided to open up the whole program to everyone in the trading community who hopefully so we can provide value to you guys. No? And today, our guest is the first ever Instagrams Trading Cup champion back in 2017 and the second runner-up rather, third place back in 2019. Someone who has been very consistent when it comes to outperforming in the Instagrams Trading Cup in the Instagrams trading competition, and someone who does not need an introduction in our community. I'm sure majority of everyone watching tonight knows who this guy is. One of the founders of Open Journal, right, and Buhawi Investment Management. So, di ko na patatagalin pa kasi marami kaming papag-usapan. So, I would like to bring on to the stream Mr. Javi Medina.
Hi. Hi, Pao. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Kamusta?
Okay naman. Masaya naman.
So, thanks so much for your time. I think maraming mga OJ fam na nandito ngayon. So, shout out kay Joseph. Kay Art.
Yes.
Yo, what's up guys? Good evening.
Good evening.
So,
Hi,
Art.
Hi, Tini.
Guys, feel free, let's share the stream para marami makanood. So, di ko na papatagalin pa. Havs, maybe before we start with the interview, and it's my first time to interview like this. Maybe for the benefit of those na baka bago pa lang sa trading or hindi ka pa kilala, can you give a short introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I am maybe one of the more older people in the Instagrams community. I started in the market in 2005, 2006. The first ever product I invested with was a BDO UITF, right, an equity fund. And I just graduated then. And then subsequently, I opened my first brokerage account in 2007. And then I started working professionally in the market 2010, where I have been with COL since then. So I started out as a professional stockbroker, managing high net worth individuals and institutions. So I serviced some of the top UITFs back then, and one of a big mutual fund back then. So I started that out. Before I did that, I was pretty much already doing some technical analysis. Back then, the only community you could learn technical analysis from was from Absolute Traders. I'm not sure if people still remember that community, but if you do, matanda na rin kayo. Right? So they had this basic course and they had an advanced course, and we would have to go all the way to some place in Legazpi Village to be able to learn that for half a day. And then so I did that. I was learning technical analysis from 08 to 010, using that for my trades. And then 2010, when I started servicing institutions, that's when I started to learn about macro and fundamentals. So I started to learn terms about secular trends, secular bull markets, what makes a secular bull market, etc. And then eventually, I decided to just focus on not focusing on advisory accounts, not focusing on institutions. eventually I decided to just focus on servicing high net worth individuals, select high net worth individuals. So basically, just managing a fund and just having 100% control over my decisions. I focused on that 2013 onwards as an in-house and eventually as a group that's connected with COL. So that's BIM, where we manage money locally. That started in 2017-18. As you know, that's also when we started Open Journal. And in 2019, that's when we expanded into cryptocurrency as well. So that's what we do now. We basically manage money in the local market. We continue to do that. Just a very small fund. Um, I'd say it's maybe the size of the smallest, equivalent to the size of the smallest mutual fund that you'll see out there. And we also manage a small fund in cryptocurrency, right, which is roughly the same size of as our local fund. And outside of that, we pretty much give people access to how we do things and how we look at markets through Open Journal. So that's pretty much what we're busy with. It's mahirap ang buhay ngayon kasi dati local market lang. Ngayon, it's local market, then you have crypto, US market, di ba? And then you have all these content that you need to put out. So, things are have evolved that way, but it's an opportunity to add more value.
Yun. I think that's a great intro. So guys, to everyone pala watching, before I move on with the next question, guys, marami tayo paparaffle mamaya, one of which is a open journal access for our Double Up Pass users. And to our live viewers, guys, if you want a chance to win 500 pesos later, don't forget to share the stream, comment hashtag InvestaCup 2021 and tag 3 friends para masama kayo dyan. So, game Habs. Kailan ka nag-start? 2005. Alam mo ba kung ilang taon na ako noong 2005?
Kaya tapos ako nanak nun eh.
Joke lang. So, game. Loko lang. So, game actually.
Diapers ka ba nun, Toma? Diapers ka?
Hindi naman. Ano na ako nun? Preschool na ako nun. Preschool.
Okay.
So, actually, before syempre I wanna touch on your experience in the various trading cups that you joined. But maybe before I ask that, I would like to ask you, since you are one of the founders of Open Journal, how important is it to you that you're part in the right trading community, especially today that there are so many trading communities available. Like you mentioned kanina, noon, right, back in the day, it you had to go Legazpi to learn TA and all these things. But now there's an abundance of different communities. So how important is it to be part of the right one for you?
I've always been very honest about this. And as someone who runs and builds a community, one of the many communities out there, I'm not as sold as to the concept as to most communities out there, and maybe let me explain. Maybe I'll start by saying that if you take notice on all the people who talk about the importance of being part of a community, like it's important to be part of a community, it's important to be part of a community. My honest answer to that is that these are often people who sell community, right? Who make money by people being part of a community. And, that's not necessarily a bad thing because communities generally add value, right? And maybe my reason for my skepticism, especially when we put up Open Journal, was when we looked at the history of the stock market. Obviously, we mean what history is available, especially in the United States. I can't really put my finger, with the exception for IBD, the IBD community, right? With the exception for IBD, I really can't put my finger on a a successful community in history, right? When I look back to whatever history is available, 1920s, 1930s, Jesse Livermore time to onwards with Bernard Baruch, with um, to the 70s and 80s, Robert Prechter and Marty Bulldog Schwartz. Um, you really can't put your finger on successful communities during that time, and thereby my level of skepticism. So what I do what I do believe in, though, however, is the principle of modeling, right? And this is really not from me. This is really from Mark Minervini, and indirectly from Tony Robbins, who is the performance coach of Paul Tudor Jones. And what they simply say is that if you're someone that wants to learn something, whether it's a skill or whether a skill like trading or any art and craft, the best strategy on how to get from point A to B is through a principle of modeling, which means find someone who's already successful at doing it, and then just go straight to him, copy what he's doing, and then that's really the best way for you to learn that particular skill and approach. So if you look at Mark Minervini, he doesn't have a community, but what he does is that his first step is, if you find someone who's successful in trading, the first step is to shut up and listen, right? Empty your cup. And when I, going back to your question, the importance of community, like in Open Journal, community is important, yes, but it's an indirect result of a model or of a service built around the principle of modeling, right? And I'm sure that's how most communities are. In Open Journal, obviously, that principle of modeling is based on the success and track record of myself and Matt. And um, that is, in my mind, what the importance of a community offers. It offers you the opportunity to model somebody or a group of people. Now, in my mind, if it's just community for the sake of community, where there's really nobody, let's say, to model, nobody with the track record, nobody who can give what they already have to other people, and maybe they're just making money from, selling community, then that's maybe a community that I would be a little skeptical on. But let's say being part of a, but that said, being part of a community is important because obviously during tough times, such as, let's say, if you were part of the cryptocurrency markets for the third quarter of this year, this was May and June, the latter part of the second quarter, then obviously community is important because you're able to leverage on each other's learnings and strengths. But those two need to be present, both the horizontal accountability and the vertical opportunity to model somebody who's already done it before. So that, I would say, would be the importance of community. Otherwise, to be honest, there are traders out there I know who are introverts and don't necessarily want to be part of a community, and that's fine as well, right? And yeah, as long as you have someone like a peer group or an accountability partner, I think that should be okay.
Yun. And I was actually gonna ask this later pa, but you kind of touched on it already. You touched on modeling, and I kind of want to talk about that because in Open Journal, right? What we do in the community is or what you guys do is
But we do.
yeah, what we do is the model is based on that we model Stanley Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones, and Mark Minervini, those three guys. So why did you choose to model the whole system and macro approach of Open Journal to those three, um, arguably some of the greatest traders of our generation?
Right. So great question. I'd say, Mark Miller. I'd say out of those three, So it's a pyramid, right? Mark Minervini is at the top of the pyramid. And, and you need to understand how all of them are related because Mark Minervini used to work as a board member of the fund of George Soros, where Stan Druckenmiller was a part of back in the late 90s. So they were working together. And to answer your question, the reason why Mark Minervini is there is obviously, you know, I think a lot of people will agree that he's the best trader of our generation. He's pretty much the Jesse Livermore of our generation, right? I mean, some people will disagree, but that's my personal opinion, right? Guy didn't graduate grade school or high school, but the guy didn't graduate grade school or high school at all, and it's a very rare combination for you to see a guy who's that successful combined with a guy who's that generous with his learnings and teachings, right? And I have firsthand of his level of success and the level of wealth that he has. Kasi the thing with markets is that, and I don't blame people, is that when you have a guy who sells books about how to trade like a market wizard, how to trade like a market champion, the source of skepticism comes from, if this guy is so successful in trading, why does he need to sell books? Why does he need to run a master trader program where he charges $5,000 for that's attended by 100 people around the world, combined by a master trader subscription, diba? So why does this guy need to do all of that when he's already so successful in trading? And it's just very rare for you to have a combination like that. And to answer the question, is that the reason why he does that is because, I might be mistaken, but this is a guy who every step of his life had always needed to prove himself, always cut out of grade school, then finished school, always had to prove himself because he didn't have a degree, always had to prove himself with results, right? And that's something that I personally identify with as well. And not only that, syempre, I've had the opportunity to meet him personally, to correspond with him personally, and to learn straight from his program personally. And I would say that his discipline and approach is really as effective as it can get, and at the same time simple enough to really scale, right? So that's really the approach. If you look at how he's evolving now, he is incorporating a lot of macro, which he learned obviously from his past few years. You can see him post about seasonality charts, Ned Davis Research, who's the number one technical macro analyst in the world by at least a lot of the traders. So so we're not only trying to model his system, but to also try to model where he's going as a trader, because quite simply, kumbaga, if there's a statement, why reinvent the wheel if it already works? Mark Minervini is the most successful wheel out there, right? So we're trying to model also, given and also just apply some elements of from our own experience, right?
Speaking of Mark Minervini, what was it like going all the way to the US? I think in Long Island ba? I forgot. But how was it? Pearl Beach? How was it like attending that entire thing live?
Right. So it was in Myrtle Beach. I think it's in North Carolina or South Carolina. I forget. But um, solid siya, to be honest. Kasi I remember that was 2017. And when I went, I actually received a lot of, some genuine concern from friends at the time, saying to me that, Javi, why are you spending like, and I still remember how much I spent in total. I spent like 387,000, including airfare. So they asked me, why would you spend like close to $500,000 to go halfway around the world when you've pretty much read all of his books already, inside and out? And we also had to learn it a lot because that was also the foundation as to which the trading institute I was a part of as well. That was also one of the main sources of the curriculum. So so I was asked, why would you go? Don't you already know 90% of it, right? 95% of what he teaches. And I remember my mindset during the time is that, since I know that I'll be doing this hopefully for the rest of my life, if I could improve my game by just 1%, that's 1% compounded already every year, right? And um, I remember on the first day when I attended, all my doubts were easily already erased. Because the thing is that after you spend 10 years really trying to learn from at least the best people here in the Philippines about technical analysis, trading, and certain techniques, syempre when you go to the States, the psychology term is what you call 2 millimeter shifts. And what that simply means is that even on my first day, there was already 2 to 3 things that I learned that caused 2 millimeter shifts in my thought processes that allowed me to really push results from an excellent level to an outstanding level, right? Meaning that allowed me to break through further in terms of how I perform, new results, certain ways that I look at things, right? So a good example of that was during the first day, he mentioned that don't look at the index and you'll do 10 times better. And that was a very huge shift for me because I always used to be a top-down trader where I would look at the S&P 500, I would look at the PSCI to determine risk on, risk off. And and that was very important because, Thomas, leaders, which the strong issues that we're supposed to be participating in, really move ahead weeks, months in advance ahead of the index before the index even tips its hand, right? So if you're looking at the index, the index usually starts at a level, and then
Hey, Havs.
pag sumusakyan, medyo yan, kasi tumatakbo.
Yeah. Then
Yes.
naglag ka na onte. Naglag ka na onte. But it's
All
okay
right.
now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
the last thing you
So
said was
so
the leaders move ahead of the index. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The leaders move ahead of the index, and that's precisely why. Um, so the point I was making is that mga small shifts um, that allowed me to really um, break through the glass ceiling, so to speak. He was also the guy who said that his turning point in the 90s was when he started attending Tony Robbins seminars. And that was a huge thing for me because I never really knew who Tony Robbins was during the time. Never knew he was the performance coach of Paul Tudor Jones for the last 24 years. And it was pretty much in that stain that the fist that got me started onto a 2 year, 10 event journey after Mark's event and started to really learn about all the psychology part of trading and investing.
Yun. So, yeah, you talked about Tony Robbins, and I actually also attended one of his events last year. Diba? I asked you kung sulit ba yung UPW, Unleash the Power Within. But diba, if those in the audience are familiar with what Tony Robbins teaches, diba, none of it naman is directly related to trading itself. So how
Yep,
would you say that attending his seminars, which are not cheap, in right,
right.
um positively affected yung personal trading mo?
It's a great question. So if you look at, let's say, what Tony Robbins teaches, he teaches about peak performance, right? It's not just trading. He teaches it to all the athletes that he engages with, Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, and all these other athletes. If you look at, if you break, just a quick summary, if you look at how he breaks down peak performance, as you know, he breaks it down into three, right? First is physiology, meaning your physiology affects your state, and your state really determines is a big influence into your decision making. And second, I think, is what you focus on, the current thoughts that you focus on. And third is the language that you use. So those are sort of the three buckets that he uses to determine peak performance. And from that particular framework, you can already drill down already. You can already create a framework for your trading, right? So the language that you use, whether it's the language that you tell yourself verbally or the language that you that you write in your journal, the the thoughts and the emotional states that you're in when you're trading, right? Because I was watching this Real Vision interview the other day, and the key with the guy said that the biggest driver to a long successful hedge fund career of 10, 20, 30 years, the biggest driver is really the next decision that you make, right? Because sabi niya, and what I liked about that interview is that he likened trading to poker, where it's all about making consistent quality decisions, right? And going back to your question, Tomo, on the framework, syempre, being able to structure it that way gives you a framework to at least manage your decisions so that they're made not out of fear, not out of frustration. Because as you know, decisions made out of fear often result in chasing prices. Decisions made out of fear often lead you to prematurely, loss aversion, which is a bias that is often that a lot of people succumb to, is really predominantly a fear-based bias, right? Where people, diba, like people who prematurely cut their position habang hindi po umaabot sa stop level nila, that's usually out of fear, right? So there are a lot of ways to really focus it, and you can obviously, that is part of managing your focus and what your focus was, what your state was when those decisions were made, and then you go back, was that a quality decision, right? And then obviously all of that is indirectly influenced by your physiology, right? The your ability, let's say small things like things as simple as recovery, right? Like, how do you trade when di ba, a lot of people say pag kulang sila sa tulog, they're often grumpy, di ba? Has anyone ever even looked into how that affects your decision making when you're in the markets, right? Um, a lot of people often talk about how trading is all about, um, just trying to gut it out and all about, macho, I'll go through this quality decisions. But no, it's also like about your recovery and how your recovery contributes to quality decision making. So, that's obviously a challenge, especially for people who trade the US market and then maybe sleep 4 hours, and then they wake up and trade the Philippine market, and then all of a sudden they're wondering bakit pumangat yung performance ko sa local market, diba? When they're trying to trade two markets, maybe it's the recovery that they're having. So it really provides a framework on how to really self improve and manage yourself and to measure yourself.
So I think some people might be wondering, no, someone as busy as you who trades both local crypto and US, how do you, and managing clients, how do you manage your time between trading those three markets and all of the business side of what you do?
Um, the answer is I don't. uh, the real answer is that it takes a team, right? If you look at obviously, if you look at the local market, it's not just me. It's obviously Matt Flores of Open Journal and also members of our team like Joseph and Jessa and other people who contribute as well. But Matt helps us stay on top of the local market. Like most people, they have to put in the time to scan, to plan, to analyze. Kami, like we already know, like Matt already gives us a list on where to focus, right? If we just want to go straight to that. Joseph, to a certain extent, helps us with the open journal community as well. And also, at least, shout out to my favorite financial market couple, Joseph and Belle, who, by virtue of them both, they helped me. They have some novel crypto ideas here and there that help me stay on top on what are the what ideas are currently in the flow of markets currently. So to answer your question, it's number one, it really takes a team, and second is that you really have to choose and prioritize. In my case, if you met me 5 years ago, I was managing 88 clients, at least half a billion during the time for the local market. And that number of clients has gone down. I've deleveraged significantly in terms of number of clients, right? So now believe it or not, I'm down to, excluding crypto clients, I'm down to 22. And looking forward to bring that down. So I'm no longer focused on, just trying to manage things down as much as possible. Because you add so much to your plate, you forget to subtract. And so that's something that it's something I'm doing, and it's also preparing for the next chapter of my life where I might consider to start a family soon, and Shepherd, you'll need time for that. And so one of the things we're doing is to just scale things down in terms of syempre, in terms of number of clients. A big part of that then is, I mean, it's not only because we cut it down, that I cut it down proactively. No, it was 2018-19 were pretty much tough years also, like managing a fund. So those were negative years, at least for me, and at least for the client fund. And we had a lot of clients leave also during the time, right? People who, you know, um, they were down single digits, which was less than the market, but decided to, were not patient enough to stay. But that's fine. Um, but at least the ones that have stayed over the years, and those that at least agree to our terms, then those are the ones that we're servicing 100% right now.
Yun. So, Havs, I'm gonna go to on the list of questions I sent you. I'm gonna go to question number two. Lahat ng tinanong ko spontaneous, but buti na I ask you how much time you have. So
Tama yan.
yeah. So a while ago, before that question, the previous question, you talked about how trading was related to poker. So, and as a lot may already know, you were an Asian poker tour champion a few years ago. So how would you relate your experience playing poker to your trading journey right now?
Yeah, so the Asian Poker Tour Championship was a long time ago. That was 2012. And I haven't really played poker professionally again since 2013-14, since Edward Lee, the owner of COL, told me that, Javi, if you really want to be good at this trading game, you need to focus. So that was him telling me, focus on getting assets and trading the market, and wag ka na muna mag-poker. So that's what I did. Um, so that was so if you look at how the two are related, mm, there's this statement that Tony Robbins gives that says that in any performance related endeavor, it's always 20% mechanics and 80% psychology, right? I'm sure to a certain extent, trading will be close to that. Although I would say that trading is maybe more 35% mechanics and maybe two thirds, 50% psychology. if you ask me what the similarity between poker and trading, it's that psychological part. It's the 80% or 65% or the two-thirds, right? Because when I started in the markets in 2010 and poker at the same time, I never really knew that they were overlapping. I just did what I wanted to do, right? It just so happened that both of them were things that I love doing because they both um, touched on the same things, which were, let's say, number one, they're all about mental endurance, both of them, meaning being able to stay, whether it's in front of your screen or at the felt for a long time and make quality decision making one after another. And when I say quality decision making, it's really just about surviving mostly, right? You don't really have to make the A plus decisions all the time. It's just don't make any bonehead decisions, right? Just consistently don't make bonehead decisions. Um, so obviously that's number one. Second is that you need to be able to lean into the weight of the evidences available when you make a decision, right? I'm sure you know that in the markets, when you're looking at price action, um, you're also leaning into the volume. You're leaning into how strong is the issue relative to other issues. You're leaning into what the risk on, risk off scenario looks like over the next few weeks, next few months. You're leaning into what position size allocation should I put here given the current situation. Diba? Should I probe? Um, is now a good environment to put all in now on support and wait for put all in now on support, or do I wait for the breakout of the coil resistance? Diba? So there's so many decision points that you need to factor in. It's the same thing with poker, right? It's like price action, which is the most important. It's kind of like the math of the cards, right? Like for example, when you have when the guy goes all in pre-flop and you figure he has ace king and you have pocket tens, then you know it's a 50-50 thing, diba? So that's sort of the price action part of it. But you also need to weigh into other decision points, or you need to weigh in other evidence points, like what's this guy's range? How aggressive is he? How loose is he? What's his range for going all in pre-flop? Is he reckless? What's the size of his chips, which determines the decisions? Is he short stack? If he has a large stack, then why is he pushing all in? Right? What's the level? What's the skill level of this player? Is he a fish? Is he a veteran? Right? Even the nationality plays into it. Back then, when I played, Japanese players were the most tight players, were the most conservative players, where um, loose players were like my young European kids who were used to playing internet poker, right? You used to multi-table, so those were the kinds of biases that would come into the decision making, and in poker, there's a time limit also, right? When you're playing tournament. So tournament poker was pretty much the only poker that I played, and lots of similarities on top of what I mentioned, and you can see it not just here but around the world. Around the world, you see a lot of hedge fund guys. Like back when I went to the World Series in 2013, I would not in my table, but I would see like David Einhorn play a few tables away, who's the hedge fund owner of Greenlight Capital. You'd see guys like Jim Chanos, who's the famed Chinese short seller guy. You have and even guys in the local market, right? So there would be I would attend some poker games before organized by some brokers from Daiwa, right? Who would invite clients, would invite other brokers. You would have other brokers there like Miko Sayo who would come in and play, and you would have I remember June Labadan, who was president of Molave Fund, which is the first ever hedge fund in the Philippines, and he would come in and play, and I would see him in tournaments, and I would see him in tournaments as well here in the Philippines. It was his hobby while being in the hedge fund industry. So it's really something um because poker in a way teaches you about how to manage risk, right? How to manage risk no matter, let's say, even if you have pocket aces, it's never really a guarantee that you're going to win the pot. And it always gives you that that frame of thinking on thinking from a probabilistic point of view, always, right? Whether it's pocket aces given the situation and learning how to fold even though um, let's say you could have trips, but the board already has a one card straight and the guy's pushing you all in, diba? I mean, a lot of it is the emotional fortitude to really step on the gas and to step on the brakes, if you know what I mean, which is also the same with the markets, right? I mean, in the markets naman, a lot of people lose money not because they don't know what to buy or what the setup is. A lot of people lose money because they become aggressive when the market is the worst time to be aggressive, and they become defensive when it's the best time to be aggressive, right? A big part of success in the markets is also based on that. So, um, I'd say it's the closest that you can get to trading, investing, as far as psychology is concerned. And it's something I also still want to get back into. So one of my friends from the Tony Robbins workshops who lives in Vegas, I actually was just speaking to him last week, and after 2 years just inside the Philippines, sabi ko, next year, put out Vegas. I'm just gonna go on a poker vacation and just if he's there, let's just hang out.
Yun. So, speaking about tournaments, competitions, now I kind of want to touch on your experience joining mga trading competitions. Siguro the first thing I'd like to ask you is, what was your motivation behind joining the first ever Investigrams Trading Cup back in 2017?
Um, so um, I guess a big part of it was that it was the first ever like national competition. So there was some novelty. There was some novelty to that. Another part of it also is because if you go back to when I started the markets in 2010, if you get my mindset during that time, it was really pursuing a discipline where I could really put in my 10,000 hours so I could really have a chance to be one of the best in that craft, right? And the formula that I used for that was a concept from my favorite book at the time. It's still one of my favorite books. It's Good to Great by Jim Collins, and they have a chapter there called the hedgehog concept, where they talk about the intersection between three circles: what you're good at, what you're passionate about. So what you're passionate about, and then what your strengths are, because you can be passionate about something, but it's not really like a natural disposition. And third is what can put food on the table, meaning what can sustain your lifestyle. So what I did was I took the intersection of that, at least what I thought was. Growing up, I was always a math guy. I was always a math guy, a numbers guy. Although, alam naman natin ngayon, pag nasa market ka, it's not really about math, diba? Although at the time, akala ko ganun eh. Basta in college, I was always the guy that if I studied, I could really hack whatever it was, algebra, accounting, ganyan. If I put in the work. Um, so that was pretty much the only subject I was good at. I failed a bunch of other subjects not related to math, but math was pretty much my saving grace. I almost didn't graduate high school because of disciplinary reasons. The only thing that really got me into college was I found out later on that I was number three on the asset exam, at least in math. That was the only thing that got me out of the wait list and into the course that I applied to. Um, so, mm, So sa akin, that was really just, I was good in math. And in college, I had the good fortune of, entering a business org as an applicant. And siguro uto-uto ko back then. So they gave me the project to organize a stock trading competition, right, for the John Gokongwei School of Management. And, I remember we had a seminar where we brought in the PSCI Market Education Department to talk. We had an event where we marketed it through posters. Wala pang online nun. It was posters, some bulletin boards and everything. And we had a stock market competition, right? So that's what really got me started. And I had a cousin. I had the grace of having an older cousin, 10 years, who acted like a big brother to me and forced me to read all the Robert Kiyosaki books, right? That was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, Guide to Investing. And I was a young guy. I was, it's 2003, 2004. And that's really what opened my mind to eventually getting into investing, getting into the market as an end goal, right? So that was really just. Sorry, Toma. I have a tendency to digress. So nawala ako dun sa question mo. But I guess your question is, why did I join the competition? I guess after getting the intersection of those three circles and applying the 10,000 R principle to that, and after really just putting in the work, 12, 14, sometimes 16-hour days, Monday to Saturday, you kind of want to test yourself and see where you are, right? Especially during the time when, we just came from a secular bull market. So, syempre, pag secular bull market, everyone thinks na magaling sila when it's just really the secular bull market that really fools everyone. Diba? So, I was kind of lucky then, to be honest, because it was the first ever competition, meaning it was novel. You had the most eyeballs. And not only that, it was the peak of the secular bull market. Meaning, and peak of the secular bull market is where you have peak optimism, is what people know. And that's when, that's the competition out of all the competitions that had the most eyeballs, right? And that was, and combined that with that novelty and that's what really I didn't really know it was the peak of the bull market, at least during the time. But so it was just a mix of being in the right place, right time. A lot of it is that. But I joined simply because I wanted to test myself during the time after 8 years, 9 years of really putting in the work, 14, 16 hours a day of really just trying to um, be the best at what I do. And, I was always a competitive guy growing up, whether it was an athlete in college or whether it was in everything I do. All my friends know me as a very ultra competitive guy who likes to trash talk in a nice way. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, teka. So, I know how seriously you take everything you do, but especially sa competition. Was there anything that you learned or unlocked about yourself after joining, I think, two or three trading cups? And before you answer that, I'd like to give a shout out to the almost 500 people who are
Wow.
watching us both on Facebook and YouTube. So, what's up,
Wow.
guys? Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, guys. So I guess, sorry, your question is, was there anything I learned about myself?
Yeah, about yourself or anything na-unlock mo because of the trading cup or the trading competitions you've joined.
Yeah, and here's what you need to understand. If you've never joined a trading cup competition before, what you're essentially doing is that you're taking yourself out of your comfort zone and putting yourself in a position of discomfort. Why? Because all of a sudden you're now in an aquarium with how many other participants are out there, and your performance is publicly viewable. And because of that, you're subjecting yourself to additional sources of pressure that would not be present otherwise if you did not join the competition, right? And because you subject yourself to that kind of pressure, and because you're outside of your comfort zone, there's a lot of growth that happens. And going back to what's important to me as a trader, syempre, like for example, you're an athlete, you always want to put yourself in different situations because different situations um, pressure different emotional sensitivities of your psychology. And that, in a way, helps your psychology grow, or at least helps you grow in certain areas. And over the long term, it helps you, it helps you be prepared for certain things. I mentioned the word pressure. One of the my favorite statements about pressure is from Tom Brady. And when he was asked, "What do you think separates? What do you?" He's been a champion now for like how many Super Bowls? I've even lost count. And he was asked by a reporter, "So what do you think separates the champions from the not champions?" It's ability to perform under pressure, right? Because it's one thing to perform, but try performing under pressure, right? Try performing under that additional weight of the stress, diba? Now, I'm not saying that you should always do that. Sure, when you're trading, the less pressure, the better, right? Generally speaking. But when you have an opportunity to train and expose yourself for additional pressure for 3 months, and that's a good opportunity to take kasi the pressure teaches you things about yourself that you would not have known otherwise if you did not apply that pressure. If you know what I mean. Diba? Like um, especially if you're someone that likes to keep track of if you're someone that likes to keep a journal, whether it's a written or a mental journal of why you did certain things that you did, putting yourself in that kind of position, it's an amplifier. That's what it is. It amplifies things that are already there. It helps. It's like a steroid shot on helping to get to know yourself better, right? Because you put yourself in a position where things are more amplified. And quite frankly, it looks like it's going to be a very interesting investment cup because things are, at least for the local market, US market with Russell 2000 breaking out, and with, some cryptos, some leading cryptos already breaking out its bases. Looks like it's going to be one of those exciting environments to have a trading cup for the Philippines up at least until middle of Q1 next year.
Yeah. Yun. So, besides the trading cup, I think a lot of people know, at least with an open journal, that you competed. I'm not sure if this year, but last year you competed in the U.S. Investing Championships. Maybe you could share with us your experience competing in that global arena.
Yeah, so it's obviously the highest level competition that you can join. I'm sure everyone knows that. USIC is famous for Mark Minervini. That was the competition that he won, and looks like he's going to win again this year, at least for the money manager division, where minimum entry is $1 million. It's also a competition that's really launched a lot of other names, right? So Bob Prechter, who won it in 1984, the guy who popularized Elliott Wave, won it. You have Paul Tudor Jones, who won it also in the 80s. You have David Ryan, who was the protege of William O'Neill. Sorry guys, Tagaytay ako. Ang daming mga lumilipad na so so if you look at the dynamics or the nuances of competing in that competition, obviously the hardest part is the time difference, 12-hour time difference. Although it's been said that, if Nicholas Darvas can do it from halfway around the world, take his capital to over $2 million, I think it's $2 million, then what's your excuse when back then it was simply Telegram, right? And now everything's automated. So I think um, it just takes some getting used to, right? Especially in my case where I also have a fiduciary responsibility for the local market, that I need to be awake as well. So at least in my mind, I'm learning how to to deleverage things and prioritize things, right? Part of the reason why I've been deleveraging in the local market is because of in the medium term, long term, to allocate a bigger portion for uh, for the US market as well. Kasi syempre, when you're trading, as I said earlier, recovery is very important for you to make good for you to make good decisions, right? So ako normally what happens is I sleep at 4, 4:30, 5. I wake up at like 10:30, 11. Si Lord na bahala sa mga positions, di ba? De joke lang yun. I try naman to adjust my style to be able to fit that kind of reality. But so far so good naman. So far so good. I joined last year. I'm in case you haven't noticed, I'm also there this year. I'm right there at the bottom half, right? So still trying to at least finish the race, right? To follow through in what I initially committed to, and that's you'll see me there every year. So that's something that that's something that it's something that we're working on. It's an area that we want to build eventually moving forward.
Yun. And if you could boil down your success in the different competitions you joined, trading competitions that you joined, to maybe just one reason, what would that one reason be?
Um, maybe to start, um, I'm happy that you term it as success because um, I'm s- to be honest, I'm still very far from where at least where I want to go, at least in this trading career. But to answer your question, um, if I could boil it down to one thing, hirap naman yan. Ito, parang Miss Universe.
Gotta
Boil
ask
it,
the hard questions.
um, I'd say, mm, no man is an island. Or let me rephrase that. It takes a village to really raise a trader. That would be my one answer statement. And the simple answer is the reason why I was able to reach that far was because I had the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants, right? Whether it was in 2010, starting with my first two bosses, where I learned the importance of understanding secular bull markets, which was simply a wave three in a 15 to 25-year time frame, and more importantly, having the mentality to just f you to everybody else and to just stick with the trend, right? Um, so obviously, I've had that opportunity, but moving forward, it's just one bigger giant after another bigger giant. Obviously, Boss Edward was a big instrument in terms of giving me the breaks that I needed. Wouldn't be here without him, and learning under Juanes, teaching his program, co-teaching his program at least for 5 6 years, and then standing on the shoulders of giants and having the opportunity to to have my own iron be sharpened by other iron, right? Iron sharpens iron, right? So I had the opportunity to do that at least with the communities I was a part of before. with the other coaches there, with the friends that I continue to remain friends with. And more than that, the iron that I'm sharpening with now, right? Like with Matt, who's grown to be a really super trader, right? I mean, he's pretty much the number one. So there are 60 fund managers in COL. He's grown to be by far the number one guy already in terms of returns and commissions generated. Um, so you have also Joseph, right, who's an up and comer who's showing a lot of promise, and a lot of other, maraming a lot of other really good people in there's been a lot of pleasant surprises in Open Journal, and obviously learning, just trying to learn from each other, right? Um, and I would say that would be what it would be. What it would boil down to. It's the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants, which is the same as modeling, right? So I've had the opportunity for success to be modeled for me to follow, whether that was with the local models that I was given the opportunity to follow, or eventually Mark Minervini, right, who is a model to a lot of people.
Right? So, and maybe to sum up the entire talk about your experience at Trading Cup and trading competitions, would you recommend kahit yung mga newbies or yung mga baguhan pa lang sa market to try and compete and join in these trading competitions like the Trading Cup? Because yung common siguro limiting belief na palagi ko narinig personally is wala pa
Not
ako 1 year sa market, tapos pang magaling lang yan. Bata pa ako, marami pa akong kailangan kainin na bigas, next year na lang, blah, blah, blah. So, would you recommend those na relatively newer to the market to try and compete in the Trading Cup, which is actually starting in 2 days?
absolutely yes. And the simple reason is that you just need to have a growth mindset. Um, a growth mindset is someone that you're in the market for 1 year. There's a trading cup which will allow me to accelerate the rate of change of my growth. I should join that, right? As opposed to, having a fixed mindset na, hindi kasi bago pa lang ako, and it's a decision based out of fear, right? And, there's this saying that I always remember, that fear is always the gatekeeper to every person's comfort zone. And it's always when you get past that gatekeeper of fear outside of your comfort zone is where the magic happens, right? Not exactly sure why I remember that, but um, if it's fear that's just stopping you, then that's already a decision in itself that's already an indication itself that you should be joining it, because you should be, learning and growing is all about, a lot 90% of the time it's just really about overcoming your fears and believing in yourself. And it's not just believing in yourself to win it or to go top one. It's believing in yourself that, you know, that that you know, na you can you can na na you can at least stay at the same league and level as these other people, right? Diba? For all you know, you're a beginner. And then finishing in the top 50, finishing in the top 100 can give you the confidence and the second win for you to really put in the work and to go through the process to learn it even more, and to, ano mawawala sa'yo, diba? If you don't. The only thing that you allowed is you allowed your fear to prevent you from doing to prevent you from an opportunity, right? And what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing is that you fail, right? And what's wrong with failure, diba? Like most people, maybe in the social media age, they think that failure is such a bad thing, that, failure is a good thing, diba? The only thing common with successful people is that they failed more. So if you have an opportunity to fail and to try, then go do it, right? And if you fail, pat yourself at the back, right? Because if you've tried and failed, mas lamang ka na to 80% of the people who don't even try at all, who hide in the dark corners out of fear, doubt, the cold and timid souls that know no victory nor defeat, right?
Lalim na.
That's
So
from
guys,
that's the man in the arena quote from Roosevelt, by the way.
yun. So guys, ito one plug lang in the middle of the interview, guys, kasi 2 days away na lang. Guys, the Trading Cup is happening starting on Monday. You have until tomorrow or maybe Monday morning, but most likely tomorrow night to join. Prize pool already more than 1 million. I think now it's 1,030,000 or something. Tapos besides the 1 million in total prizes, marami, may isa pang pasabog eh. May inaantay pa kaming i-announce. So, marami pang parating. So, if you guys want to go outside your comfort zone, right, and continue to grow as a trader, head over to instagrams.com/trading cup. Andito na 2 days a week, kayo na lang inaantay. So, yun. Travis, the next thing I want to ask you, maybe thank you for sharing your experiences with the competition, but back maybe to your focus back on the. Actually, I want to ask this question first. Naisip ko lang. Because you talked about standing in the no, in the shoulder, no, standing in the shoulders of giants, and for you it was Edward Lee, it was Juanes, and like that naman for me, standing on in the shoulder, standing in shoulders of giants. Those giants were you and JC. And I remember one thing I will never forget was back in 2018. I attended Inspire PH. That was where you first spoke para sa Investa. That was when you called na the secular bull market was over, etc., etc. And then
SMX.
one of the things I remember you said, which that's one thing that sparked my reason for going all in back when I was 18, second year college, was you said in order to succeed, I don't know if I'm paraphrasing, but if in order to succeed in the craft or in trading, you have to commit to mastery. So that was something that really stuck with me ever since. So could you maybe talk about that a little bit for everyone watching us tonight?
Yeah. So when I was in college, I used to be part of this business org called ISEC, and we would always have these parties with mga alumni, right? Mga old, not old people, but wiser people, right? And I remember having this sort of this alumni party when I was still like 23, 24 years old. And there was this guy, I think his name's Mike Cardenas. And he told me one thing I would never forget. He said that, Javi, at your age, the one thing that you have that I don't, and a lot of people my age don't have, and this guy was in his 50s. He said that, Javi, you have the golden opportunity to focus. Yun ang sabi niya sa akin. Sabi niya, you have the golden opportunity to focus. And syempre, in my mind, tama yung sinasabi mo. I guess the question is, where do I focus? Right? I mean, that's really like the next question. So if every young age, and I know, Toma, that di nga gold sa'yo, platinum, because I know you're still like 15 years old, di ba? Dead joke lang. But I guess the question is, what do you focus on, right? And that's really when I started to use the framework, which I also saw JC use, but sa ibang concept naman yung sa kanya, parang ikigai yata yung ginamit ni JC, di ba? Which is very similar. So for me, if you have a golden opportunity to focus, syempre most people will say focus on what you're passionate about. But passion is just one thing, right? You have to focus on the intersection between your passion, your strength, your kumbaga, where you're naturally predisposed to have an edge, right? And kasi one of the facts I also contended with is that if you look at my context during the time, when I graduated kasi, I used to work for an FMCG, right? So I used to work for Nestle Philippines. I started out as a management trainee, did that for 18 months, and then worked as an assistant marketing manager for Bear Brand, which is the largest Nestle brand, third largest brand in the country. And I remember during the time, while doing that work for 18 months, I was working like coming in at 9 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, and working until like 2 in the morning. And then going home, taking a bath, sleep, and then going back to work, and then do the same thing, especially for me, mga launches and projects, right? So, so I recall that, syempre, if you're, kasi the reality is hard work is a hard fact of life. Eh. Hard work will always be hard. Kaya nga tinawag na hard work. Eh. So if you're gonna commit to mastery and if you're gonna focus, you might as well feel that pain in an area that you know you would in an area where you would have the peace of mind that I would rather not put in the hard work in any other area but this. Right? So for me, it's those two things. Number one, know that you have a golden opportunity to focus. Two, you need to be able to find the wisdom and discernment to know what to focus on. For me, that was the framework that I used. I think for JC, it was Ikigai, which was the same. And my mindset at the time was, doesn't matter how long it takes. Like Barack Obama, that was his number one advice to the youth. Doesn't matter how long it takes. It's your responsibility to find what you what you think you were meant to do on this earth, right? So if you look at, once you find that, then you just need to accept that, it's not butterflies and rainbows. It's hard work. It's a grind. It's really going to be, you know, um, people are gonna break your heart along the way, um, but you would rather not have your heart broken in any other space but this. If I were to have my heart broken, mas gusto ko it was doing what I wanted to do and what I love to do and not doing something else or working for someone else and putting money in someone else's pocket, right? Working 14, 16 hours a day. So to answer your question, commit to mastery is really that, right? Finding that, and if it makes a lot of people feel better, I started that journey when I was 27, 28 years old. When I started to pursue the intersection of that and to really start to, put my head down and to just focus and grow in that area, right? So that involved giving up a lot of things as well, just focusing on that. And that's really, you know, um, it's not easy. Like when I started out in 2010, um, a few wipeouts along the way, right? A few wipeouts, a lot of irate clients. I've had a 9-year-old woman, cry in front of me, retired woman cry in front of me because her 5 million became 4.350, right? Um, and that's not even maybe the worst of it, worst of the stories. Um, it's really, it's really it's really a lot of hard work, and it's not an easy journey. No journey is no money, right? No journey worth traveling is. Um, so to to summarize the answer to your question, what it means to commit to mastery, it really means just finding, taking the time to discern what that is, intersection between what you're good at, what you're passionate about, how to leverage on that to serve other people, and putting in the 10,000 hours, so to speak, right? Not just 10,000 hours, but deliberate practice. Not just practice, but deliberate practice. Diba? So that's really the thing. And knowing that success is like this, right? Like, that
Nilipad na yung
success is
three.
really like like you're grinding for 7, 8, 10 years, and then all of a sudden you're an overnight success. Diba? Parang ganun eh. Um, like for me, as far as although I really don't consider myself, but the only time I started to grow like exponentially, geometrically, was at the later years, it was plus minus, plus minus, plus minus, and then bang, diba? Right? So, you know, hopefully, hopefully it doesn't go down anymore, right? Well, um, but I mean, it's a challenge every step of the way, diba? It's a challenge, right? Like right now, it's like right now it's learning how to deal with all the volatility of this crypto, diba? Like yung um so it's it's um yeah, I mean it's never easy peasy.
Yeah.
Every step is always a challenge, and you have to always learn and enjoy the process, and to most importantly to to surround yourself with people that you really enjoy, that you really also enjoy working with, and who will love the process together with you. Right? So really important.
Yan.
Yep.
Grabe. It's hard to make a nice follow-up question after that. I knew I should have ended the interview with that pero, you know, I don't know if you remember Habs, pero di ba, you mentioned that someone gave you an advice when you were younger to focus. I don't know if you remember, but when I was just new to Investa back in 2019, you went to the office. I think that was when the initial open journal plans were being discussed. Tapos sabi ko, ano, Javi, pingin naman ako advice in the
Mm,
conference room. You only said one word. The one word you said to me was focus. Yun lang.
yeah,
I don't know if
focus.
I don't know if you remember that. Wala, naalala ko lang bigla.
Yeah.
So, moving on from that, you, siguro in the, at least for me nakilala ko lang, or na nakikita ko lang, you are probably one of the, if not, at least sa professional fund management no world, parang isa ka sa mga pinaka-active, right, in the local trading community na marami retail traders and everything. Tapos, and for the past, since 2017, 2018, you have been speaking at events, doing webinars, and now you have the whole open journal thing for the past 2 years, and just providing value to people when you could have just simply have not done that and just focused on yourself and focused on managing your fund. So why did you decide to provide value in the way you have, and why are you still doing it with so much passion and effort, diba, until today?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. So thank you for those kind words. Um, I will say that we try to add value. It's very far from perfect, right? It's very far from what we feel is the ideal level, and as long as we're doing more good than maybe, I don't know, a little harm, then that's okay. Um, yeah, so that's a really great question. Um, and for me, it goes back to my why, like why I started this thing, right? So I mentioned earlier the hedgehog concept that was presented in the Jim Collins book. That was an intersection between three circles, right? So, what you're passionate about, what you're good at, meaning what your strengths are, meaning you do a SWOT. Third is what can sustain your lifestyle. And as early as the time, or not as early as the time, but later on, I realized that it actually lacked a fourth circle, right? And that circle was really having the heart to serve, meaning how can you serve other people, like serve, like how to contribute, right? And um and maybe I was fortunate enough to realize that early on, because when I was in college, I realized early on that there are two kinds of people, right? If you look at the old classic book, Stephen Covey, Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, there's a chapter there, I forget which, and talks about there are two kinds of people in this world, or there's a line that you can draw that delineates two kinds of people. It's not between rich or poor, it's not between first world, third world, um, it's not between um, white or colored, right? The line that separates man and woman, the line that you can really draw that separates the two kinds of people in this world are the first kind of people who have their arrows pointed inward, and the second kind of people who have their arrows pointed outward. What he means, and I think the exact words he used at that book was people who see themselves as an as an as a recipient of the actions versus people who see themselves as the source of those actions, meaning between givers and takers, right? To put it simply. And and I realized early on, let's say maybe working with business organizations at the beginning, and maybe because siguro naloko ko na school ko na man for others, diba? Na you really need to engage in something that you really have to put others before you, right? Na you really have to serve others and contribute. So going back to that hedgehog concept, I realized that there was a fourth circle that was lacking, which was what what's an area that you can get into that can allow you to serve others. And eventually, that's something that was reinforced by going down the whole Tony Robbins rabbit hole, right? As you know, Toma, the top two spiritual needs that will really sustain people out of the six human psychological needs are number one, the need for growth, right? Meaning having a growth mindset. And second is the need to serve and contribute. Because sabi nga ni Tony Robbins, he said that the biggest kind of failure, the biggest kind of failure ever is to have success but without fulfillment. Gets? And fulfillment is what you get by adding people, adding value to other people's lives. So that's just really our whole mindset. Um, that's something that we continue to have. And I'm happy you mentioned that because I mean, quite frankly, if you look at Open Journal, which is the main conduit and vehicle that at least within what we all have right now that we use to add value to other people, um, it's the vehicle that we have to make the widest impact. But to be honest with you, it represents less than 5% of the earnings of me and Matt, right? So if we combine, let's say, commissions, capital gains, all that. Um, so so why do we keep on doing it? It's really to add value to other people. I mean, as you know, you're part of Open Journal. A big part of our revenues this year went to uh, Open Journal members and family members who were burdened by COVID related hospital bills and so we're still dispersing a good portion, but we've dispersed a good portion of what we give out at least to three members, two of which were, I think their parents were, or one family member was stricken by COVID, so we're able to do that. Um, we have also, yeah, so it's just why we continue to do it, right? Um, we hope to continue to do it. Maybe in the future, we just want to build it in a way where other people can also be a part. Where people who have been with Open Journal for a while, we it's something we want to build so we can add value, right? So we're looking to to get people to contribute, to add value to the community, and maybe pay them um, 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 to at least give people some jobs as well, diba? As a side hustle to what they already do, so at least they have some cash flow that can help them with the market as well. So that's just some of the things that we're doing, right? It's something that we're continue to doing, and you know, nakakapagod minsan, but it is what it is, diba?
Yun. And now, siguro I should have ended the interview with those questions, no? Pero I kind of wanna go back kasi naging wisdom tapos ngayon balik na sa technicals nung trading journey mo. But yeah, just to shift back to your journey as a trader, are there any unforgettable trades that gave you big lessons, right? It could be a gain. You can give two, isang gain, isang loss that taught you some timeless lessons that until today naalala mo pa clearly, or that you apply or that shaped you to the trader you are today?
Mm, dami eh. Dami. Um, there's just a lot. Um, there's just a lot because everything is always new, right? Um, mm, I'd say maybe maybe just to give you the more relevant ones in terms of at least more recent ones. Um, you know, just take for example where most of my time and focus has been recently, the last few months and years, which has been cryptocurrency, right? And that particular market has been teaching me how to hold talaga. So how to, syempre, as you know, it's like an 8 vol market compared to like a 1-2 vol equity market, right? Which means it's at least 5 times more volatile, as you know. And because it's more volatile, it really teaches me to, you know, mas papaluin ka pag hindi ka disiplinado eh. Di ba? So it teaches me to really be very disciplined my entries and to be disciplined in terms of if I'm able to really enter properly and catch a strong issue, then that really teaches me how to hold, right? And I've always said this. I think I've said this in our last event, Toma. I think it was the last Investor Summit. I might be mistaken, but so far I'm learning that traders mature by learning how to become investors, while investors mature by learning how to act more like traders. And what I mean by that is when traders mature, they mature by learning how to hold on to their positions longer, right? As opposed to the short term action, day trading, because obviously money is made in the sitting and the holding. And at the same time, investors mature by learning how to act more like traders because investors, in order to up their returns, they need to learn how to manage risk more properly, meaning to cut losses and not just be an investor, right? Hawak lang conviction. Diba? So it's really a balance between those two things, and um, and and you have to understand it. One of the things that I've also learned from Tony Robbins is that, I'm sure I'm sure this is in your notes. He says that the biggest force or the strongest force in any human being's personality is the need to stay consistent with what they believe their identity is. Right? So I'll repeat that. The strongest force in any human being's personality is the need to stay consistent with who they believe or what they believe their identity is. Right? So if a person believes that, let's say, there's some day trader, then syempre, your personality, your whole behavior is going to be geared towards taking more day trades and ganyan, and a swing trader, ganyan. Right? So you really have to be able to see the connection between who and how you really see yourself and really where you want to go. Right? Like for me, as someone who started out, and you have to take into consideration where I came from and the tribe I grew up in. I was raised by the school of COL, right? The school of city securities, the school of Calum, which means that I was raised in a school that was very geared towards short-term trading, right? Um, that's not, box them in naman. They do hold positions for the long term, but a good portion of their operations, they do a lot of scalping and short-term trading and technical analysis. And like for me, that's really the type that I was raised. And like for me right now, one of the things that I'm really trying to do, I guess, in the spirit of a trader more maturing, is to learn how to hold on to my positions more, assuming that there are, say, like as you know, our A trade is our wave three of three, right? The advancing phase of Minervini. So like for me, it's really learning how to hold through those and try to just, especially you're competing in the IC, it's learning how to work smarter by having lower frequency trades kahit zero yung commission doon, 'di ba, compared to the local market. And that's also how I'm evolving in the local market and even the crypto market, right? It's learning how to hold longer, right, for the bigger gain. And but it's not to say I'm a long-term holder. It's like what Stan Druckenmiller says. I don't hold for the long term, but I do manage for the long term. And that small nuance is simply just being able to identify where the uptrending windows are, right? Like take for example, right now you have um, obviously growth and inflation picking up in the states, and you have even though we're entering a transitory tape, uh, even though we're entering a tapering slash tightening into the latter half of 2022, which often 80% of the time results into bear markets. That's not to say that there's going to be pockets of strength, such as what we're seeing now, because there's a very short-term uptick in growth and inflation, which is making the Russell 2000 breakout. It's making some leadership sectors of the crypto breakout, and we'll likely have maybe a risk-on window from now until Feb March next year. Which even if you look at the seasonality of the Philippines, 80% of the returns the last 20 years have come between Halloween and Valentine's, right? And that's a study by Phil Equity. That's not a reflection of our own process. That's not a reflection anyway of our own process. I'm just saying that that's really what the tendency is from a seasonality point of view. So we're just trying to identify those strong periods where we can hold, like for the big wins, and then identify those cycle turns where we can now step aside and just take care of the profits, right? So that's just to answer your question, because your question was, are there any recent trades that taught you lessons? And I think the crypto market has taught us to, and joining the CUSIC and doing so many things has taught us to just play the game smarter, right? And to just mature by learning how to hold our positions longer. And it's worked for us, right? I mean, honestly, this whole pandemic has been the best years for myself and even clients. So I, um, and I don't want to say it's been the best. I'm going to say it's the best so far, right? Because obviously we're in a very volatile environment from a long-term standpoint, and anything can happen. And we live in very interesting times. It's a great time to be a trader. I mean, Toma, ikaw, back then, isipin mo, outside of my ecosystem, where can I learn? Wala pang Twitter noon. Walang Mark Minervini, walang Trader Lion seminars, right? There's no, right now, I'm attending the seminar of the winner last year, Oliver Turtle, right? He has like a 5-part workshop, so that's been a lot of learnings as well. So it's really, it's a good time to be a trader. What
Abs,
happens?
medyo naglalag ka. Was me? No, I think it's you.
No,
Sige.
it's not you. It's me. It's me. So,
Yan. No problem, no problem.
Yeah, so I was just saying it's a great time to be a trader. I mean, especially with cryptocurrency right now, where you have the greatest that's happening in the
Abs,
history of
wait lang.
financial.
Okay. Okay, medyo okay na. You kind of lagged pretty bad for mga 5 seconds. Pero okay na, okay na.
Right, sorry about that. So when I lag, just simply put up your hand so I can see.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was just saying it's the best time to be a trader right now, especially with cryptocurrency market. Right, fastest growing technology ever in the history of mankind, fastest adoption rate, 113% versus the internet of 60%. It's pretty much the fastest redistribution of wealth ever that's been happening, right? So you have 0 to 2 trillion in just 10 years, and the 2 trillion market is looking to maybe even hit 10 trillion, maybe even 200 trillion. I was just watching this interview with Roel Pa last night, and 200 trillion over the next 10, 20 years, right? And it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah. And also, guys, plug ko lang din yung trader line, yung mga Richard Moglen na interviews. If you guys can spot the YouTube, maraming solid na content dun. So, I was supposed to say something about your point a while ago. Ah, yeah, ang hirap mag-hold. Diba, sa inyo ko yung natutunan yun yung it's something I'm also trying to learn and get better at as well. So, moving forward from that, Habs, if you could share, what's the biggest difference between managing money professionally versus just trading your own account?
Um, there's a lot of pros and cons. I'd say professionally, so you have to deal with the psychology of your clients, right? It's not just if they say that psychology is 80%, then you're dealing with multiple 80% in terms of their worries, their fears. And a lot of it is really just education because, as they say, education or understanding is really the antidote to fear, right? The antidote to negative emotion. And that's not me, that's Ralph Waldo Emerson. So it's a lot of education. Although in my case, swerte naman ako na matagal na yung mga kliyente sa akin na that siguro yung mga pagkukulang ko tanggap na, tatanggap na nila, di ba? But um, it's really different. It's challenging, but depende kasi sa tao eh. Kasi like the for me the biggest existential problem with trading is that you're just doing it for yourself, eh, right? I mean, you're living a life to enrich yourself. What are you doing to help other people, right? It's kind of like it's the biggest single reason why a lot of people, professional pokers, leave the game of poker. It's because it's all for the self, eh. And we go back again to that statement that was said, like the biggest kind of failure is achievement without fulfillment, diba? Achievement is what you get by achieving whatever financial or winning a competition, but fulfillment is what you get by helping other people, right? By learning that you use your life to add value and to help other people, to manage clients that are able to make money and to send their kids through school because of the kind of service that you gave them, to be able to not be in a to for their business to hire more employees because they didn't lose money as the capital was with you. So those are the kinds of things that I'd say the main benefits. Obviously, I think a lot of traders, what they do is they manage their own money and then they put up a community for the fulfillment portion of it, right? So that's another way to do it. Um, but mm, pare, sorry. What's your question again?
Yeah. Ano nga ba tanong ko? Ayun, what's the biggest difference between managing
Right.
money professionally versus just trading your own portfolio?
yeah, so that's really difference. I guess another difference is the size. Um, I've been reminded recently that the bigger the size, the bigger the psychology needed that you need, right? Because like for some people, um, parang I've encountered some instances recently na let's say traders who are just used to a couple 100,000, and then all of a sudden when they're able to borrow money from relatives and all of a sudden they're managing 10 million, parang iba na yung ano eh, iba na yung nag-iiba yung laro nila. Maybe they play more scared. They play not to lose instead of playing to win. Um, um, that's really what I've ano. And that's why I always say that you really can't like shortcut the process. Eh. Like what I found these days is that maraming mga, I don't want to generalize if it's a millennial thing or anything, but may mga napapansin ako na maybe sa mga newbie traders na who just want to get there right away, right? Like in the words of Simon Sinek, they want to get to the top of the mountain without even going through the hike. And this maybe is manifested by maybe using excessive leverage, right? Because maybe they see a trader in social media managing 100 million and they think na isang trade ko lang yun with leverage 100 million na ako, di ba? I mean, di ba? It's doesn't work that way. Um, it's a process. It's an uptrend. You know, it's an uptrend in itself where you have three waves up, two waves down, three waves up, one wave down, three waves up, two waves down, di ba? Um, even if you look at take a look, for example, at Matt Flores, who's built his AUM to the level that he's built. You need to understand kasi that that it's the mindset comes first before it's kind of like being rich, right? It's like when you become a wealthy person, the mindset comes first before the wealth. You understand? Right? The mindset comes first before you understand. And in college, we were taught that like being comes before having. It's be do have, not have do be, right? Um, what I mean by that is that if you want to be, kasi the mistake that a lot of people make is they target the material thing right away. Meaning they target, I want to have 100 million in trading capital. I want to have this car. I want to have this bear. I want to have this. And then they do what they need to do in order to have those things. And who they become as a result of that process is just a byproduct. When it's the opposite, right? So if you really you start with the question, who do I need to become as a person, right? A lot of that is you need to become a person of integrity. You need to become a person of you need to be a person who can be trusted with contract. Like when you agree to something, you have to deliver on it. When you agree to like to anything, you have to be able to ano, and that all of those things come before. Um, it's kind of like the reason why yung mga lotto winners, there's often the story about lotto winners after like 2 to 3 years after they win the lotto, they lose everything, right? And the simple reason for that is they don't have the psychology. The psychology didn't come first, right? And that's just really the point that I want to make when it comes to the question that you had that that you have to go through the process. You can't take shortcuts because if you take the shortcut, the having will you're gonna jump ahead of you're gonna get ahead of your skis. And if the psychology is not there, it's not a sustainable growth and it's just gonna come tumbling back down.
You know, I can relate a lot to what you said because I remember when I was starting out, dati ang benchmark ko si JC. Sabi, kasi ang story niya, he made his first million at 20. He started at 20, he made his first million at 20. So I started at 18. Sabi ko, okay, may 2-year time period ako para abutin din yung 1 million. Pag di ko naabot yung 1 million, supot ako. Yun yung mindset ko noon. But, ayun, I also made a lot of mistakes because of that, because of putting a time limit on myself and trying to rush it without going through the proper process, like you say. And I made a lot of short-term decisions like oversizing, maybe not cutting a position, kahit tumama sa cut. So yeah, I can relate to a lot and agree with what you said. So medyo
Yeah,
nagdalag.
and I think the insight there is every trader needs to run their own race. That's really the thing. It's kind of like what Jesse Livermore says. If you need to trade in order to have money to pay the bills, and in that day it was the electric bill, then you're gonna make mistakes because because what you're essentially doing is you're you're trying to, kumbaga, instead of serving yourself in terms of going through the process of self improvement, you put that it's kind of like making a forced trade on yourself, if you know what I'm saying. But you know how Mark Minervini and Alexander Elder, they always say no big losses, no forced trades, right? It's like when you, let's say, force another person's success milestones on you, it's kind of like a forced trade in itself. Um, Syempre, it's always good to benchmark and to push yourself, but it's always but you always need to understand that everybody needs to you know everyone has their own journey, individual respective journey. Everyone has their own path that they need to blaze, right? So that's also, I guess, you have to run your own race talaga. And you know obviously it's good that to benchmark, and I'm sure that might have helped you by speeding up your process because it helped you make mistakes that maybe you would make later on. But yeah, ba rin eh kasi like when me and JC started, it was the Philippine market. Now it's like crypto market eh, di ba? Like we didn't have that opportunity back then eh, di ba? Iba-iba na ngayon eh. You have US, crypto. Dati, there wasn't even shorting. Ngayon, may shorting na. Um, wala naman Instagrams dati, di ba?
Yeah, and I guess kaya maraming, like you said, napapagamit ng leverage to maybe try to catch up kasi ang daming mga ports na on social media up 500% pero times 50 yung leverage and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, personally, we really don't encourage the use of leverage. Although we know naman that it's a double-edged sword, but given that, I mean, we just don't teach leverage because we don't have. It's not our strength using it, right? It's not really a strength, and ako personally, I don't see the need to use it. I want to be in this game for a long time. I mean, whatever capital I have now, pare, pinaghirapan ko yan eh. Diba? With all the blood, sweat, and tears with the trades that dinaanan ng capital na yan. Um, so that's yeah. So yeah, I guess that's something common, the social media, right? Na, I think first thing people will say is social media. I mean, the thing with social media is that they only post the good trades, right? Obviously, and every if you go down the rabbit hole and what it takes to be a successful trader, whether it's Peter Lynch who doesn't believe who doesn't believe in technicals, or a guy who's pure technicals, they all do it with a 35 or 40 to 70% batting average, right? And the central principle for trading success is you're going to be wrong a good percentage of the time, and you're going to need to learn how to cut your losses small and to let your winners run. That's the central operating principle of all successful. And that includes Peter Lynch, who in his book says that you're already good if you're right 70% of the time, right? And who doesn't believe in technicals, doesn't believe in cutting losses. And that's someone, let's say, as let's say people who operate using intraday level entries and who are stopped out often but have high edges. Those are the guys operating at the close to the 30% hit ratio but have high edges. Um, Regardless of what your style is, day trader, swing trader, investor, trader, that's the central operating principle, right? And for you to be a poster, a trader, not even using your real account, you're using a troll account to post, these trades that give the impression that it's all about the wins, then it gives the wrong impression.
Yeah. Gabi. So, to everyone in the audience, ano guys, okay pa ba kayo? So, we're almost 2 hours in. I'll try to wrap everything up with a few more questions, right? To
Wow.
hopefully close on a strong note, right? So guys, comment naman kayo pag okay ba at saka pag solid ang Saturday nights nyo. So Habs, my next question would be, if you could tell your younger self one thing you know today, so ikaw na mag-decide how many years back, maybe when you were starting out sa trading or maybe when you were in college, what would that one thing be?
Mm, ano ba yan? Pinapaisip mo ako to, eh. I think I think maybe one realization I've had recently is maybe one of the biggest lies told to us when we were in school. And I know a lot of people will disagree with what I'm about to say, but it's fine if you think differently. But one of the biggest realizations I've had is one of the biggest lies ever told when we are kids is people are inherently good. Like, you have to believe in the good of people. And the reason why they say that is because people are created in the image and likeness of God. Right? Now, hear me out first before you cast your judgment. Um, and the realization is that people are not in. If you actually, and if you look at where that belief comes from, it comes from catechism, right? Which is subject in grade school. If you look at what I've realized over the years, is that people are not inherently good. People are inherently bad. Let me explain. Kasi, kasi yun naman kasi that's the original sin, right? Kumbaga, that's the original sin that predisposed every human being to temptation, to doing the bad thing. And that's why growing up, it takes really parents to teach a child to do good. So the point that I'm trying to make is that maybe if I could go back and teach my younger self is um, maybe just maybe, and I know it's gonna sound a little sad, but just maybe not to be very trusting of people very much, because maybe I got that from my parents. Where my parents were like extremely compassionate, trusting people to the point that some people would take advantage. Ganyan. So, like in my case, it's just um, you can obviously you can trust people pa rin, etc. But you just need to be able to just not be naive and believe that people are going to do what they say they're going to do, or people are going to um, um, act in a way that is going to be what the best interests of the team as opposed to serving their own selfish interests, diba? So that's just something that maybe ano, I guess to to really to simplify the answer to your question, it's to just be more realistic than idealistic. So that's that would be yeah. Or at least
Got it.
to balance that with an extreme sense of realism.
Got it. Lalim ng hugot, Habs, ah. Joke lang.
And to be clear, this is this is this is in no way particular to any individual. This is just my collective learnings over the last 5 years.
Got it. So moving forward from that, the next question I'd like to ask is, what's the role of passion, and even more important than passion, what's the role of passion and commitment in one's trading journey?
Mm, ano ba yan? Kailangan ba may crown ako? May sash ba ako bago ko sagutin yun? Uh, ano ba? Um, so two separate things, two important things. Obviously, passion is really what ignites the start of the journey, but um, those are two things that need to work together. I would liken them to, if you ever heard of this, if anybody in the audience ever wants to understand what love is all about, all they need to do is read the book by Scott Peck, Road Less Traveled, and he talks about falling in love and genuine love, which is kind of like passion versus commitment, right? And you need to have both, right? Kasi like parang pag-ibig lang yan. If all you're doing is commitment, meaning genuine love, meaning the choice of committing to another person, but you never really went through the falling in love stage in the first place, meaning you never had the passion to begin with, it's very hard to make that everyday choice commitment to love that person every day, right? And that's important because a lot of people often overemphasize the commitment, and they underemphasize the passion side. So in the same way that you can't have all passion lang naman tas walang commitment, right? Because that only gets you so far, right? Um, the saying that I remember is, if all you are is all talk, all talk, all talk, and you can't execute, then all you are is just a sad story, right? That's all you are. Meaning, if it's all passion, all talk, you want to do this, but you really don't have the commitment to really follow through and to build something and to really drive things forward, then it's nothing but just a sad story, right? So those two work hand in hand. So parang pag-ibig, you need both the falling in love and the genuine love for any great relationship to work. And you can't have one or the other. It's always a 1-2 combination of both.
Yun, usapang pag-ibig. De, joke lang.
Parang trade. Ganda-ganda ng entry mo. Perfect entry, di mo kayang hawakan. So, ewan ko, baka masyadong stretch.
And siguro, Habs, maybe to wrap up the entire interview with maybe last three questions. The next thing I'd like to ask you is, if you could boil down, ito na naman, I'm gonna give you a limit to the number of things you can answer, but if you could boil down consistently successful trading to only three factors, what would those three factors be and why?
Hmm, I think obviously discipline is maybe the most important, right? Discipline to to execute and follow through, and discipline is emphasized because it's one thing to say that you're going to be able to execute. It's another thing when you're ready on the battlefield and all the emotions are flying left and right. I'd say that would be the first and most obvious answer. Second, kasi, and it reflects it. If you're the kind of person who's not disciplined in real life, it's going to come up in your trading, right? So the second thing that I'll say is you need to be able to to stand for something. Meaning you need to be able to know who you are in the market, right? Because if you don't know who you are and what niche you're committed to, kakainin ka ng mga recommendations, ng mga hype, kakainin ka ng mga guru-guru, kakainin ka ng mga kahit yung mga libro, kakainin ka ng mga ibang speaker that will call what you talk and say as bullshit, diba? Alam na alam nito. So, um, you it's the same thing, diba? I always say that if you don't really stand for anything, you'll fall for anything and everything that comes your way. And you need to know who you are and what your identity is. And that goes back to modeling, right? If you're not successful in this particular field, your best shot is to find someone who's already successful at it and to just copy what they're doing. Diba? It's that simple. And the challenge with our industry is that yung mga successful people, they're not out in the public, right? They're not out in the public. It's very rare for you to find that, right? So I'd say the first person that I would ask you guys to check out would be, Mark Minervini, right? Because here's the insight there. And this is not from me, this is from Tony Robbins. He says that if, let's say, in anything, whether it's, let's say, whether you want to learn polo or basketball, if you learn from someone who's a C plus in that game, what's the highest you can ever get? Is it a C plus? No, the highest is maybe a C because you're learning under him, right? If you're learning from a person who has a B plus, the highest you'll ever get is a B. Now, if you want to really be the best in the field, then you have to find who the best in the field is, right? I mean, in my case, there's a golden opportunity to learn from a guy who not only is the best in their field now, but he's also one of the most generous, which is Mark Minervini. His books are there. And as a tidbit to you guys, the Philippines even made an effort to make a paperback copy of his first book just to make it affordable here in the Philippines. It's only the Philippines that you'll find a paperback. All around the world, it's all hardcover, right? Oh, at least for the Minervini geeks out there who didn't know that. So if you look at that's you can just go straight to him and read his books. Just follow his tweets every day. Understand his mindset, his mentality when it comes to things, diba? I think that's really the most important. Just understanding the principle of modeling. That you can only go so far as the person you're modeling. That's I think if let's say you're trying to learn from a trader, a community where the trader is, let's say, where the head trader doesn't have money, I mean, that's already an indication of why are you even trying to learn from him, right? And you need to qualify, is the money that person made, was it chamba-chamba lang na nag-all-in sa isa tas biglang laki ng kita, or is it through a sustainable and consistent process and system? Diba? So those are the things, those are the fruits. Kumbaga sa Bible, diba? Sabi, how do you know if something is successful or not? It's by the fruit na binabear, right? It's through the fruit that the plant bears. So yun yung ano, that's just some of the things that I would look at. And I would say na yun yung I would say that would be maybe the one of the important things, discipline and understanding the principle of modeling, how it works. May ipis sa taas ng laptop. Sorry. Sa Tagaytay ako eh. May mga lumilipad. And then, I'd say those are the two most important things, discipline and lastly, focus. I wouldn't even put intelligence as part of the equation because, you know, it's not it not really is, right? Like me in my case, someone who almost didn't graduate high school, Minervini, who went only so far as grade 4, grade 5, right? And to be the best trader for a generation. Why would you even put intelligence in the mix? Diba? So I'd say discipline, understanding how modeling works, and focus. Right? You can't be, devoting yourself to a craft and playing Mobile Legends or Fantasy 3, 4 hours a day, diba? Hindi pwede yun. You have to be able to allocate a certain time and commit yourself to that.
Yun. So, thanks for that, Habs. I have maybe last two questions to wrap it up and before I let you go. So, second to the last is, you've been someone who has been trading professionally the markets for, I think, 12, 13, going on 13 years, more than a decade. So, what's your advice, or maybe even final message? Yeah, what's your advice to everyone in the trading community, or anyone in the trading community who wants to do it at your level, or who wants to stay in the game and be consistently profitable, just like you?
Um, mm, I'd say maybe if I were to add stuff that weren't mentioned already, um, you need to survive first and foremost, right? Um, Most people focus about making money, making their millions, making their hundreds of millions, becoming a billionaire. When the first step that you should focus on is to learn to just survive and not to lose the capital, right? Because you need to understand the statistics. Eh? People who go into trading over time, 80 to 90% lose money over the long term. So those have been the numbers for the last 100, 200 years here and around the world. So if those are really the statistics, then you really need to put yourself in a position where you're not a statistic, right? Where you need to be able to, and quite frankly, you need to accept that you're going to go through losses during your first years, right? For me, I think it was 5, 6, 7 years before I like broke the zero mark. Like it was always profitable and then go back down and then tatamaan, diba? It's like, and so I guess that's one thing, surviving. That's number one. The second thing I'll share is what people need to understand is the biggest losses always come after the biggest gains. So that I'm going to say because that's been a relevant lesson in our OJ community recently. I'll repeat that. The biggest losses come after the biggest gains, right? And it's kind of true. It's like the moment you start to go to your phone and look at mga sports cars that you think you're gonna buy once you sell your position, that's usually the top of the top of the market, eh, diba? But um, I guess you just need to survive and understand that it's a marathon, and in that sense that um, just be mindful that the biggest losses come after the biggest gains because it's usually when you're in a position of gain that you're most disarmed. You follow? It's like, and it's a lesson I see time and time after again with people who trade in our community, people who are DYs, 𝐈𝐈𝐓 or TYM, triple your money, ganyan. And then all of a sudden, talagang tatamaan sila na malaki, di ba? So I think that's really the case, that you need to know that you always need to be guarded with that, right? If you really want to be able to staircase your way higher. So that's yeah, I would say those would be the two things, right? And besides what I mentioned earlier, just you have the principle of modeling, and if you're having a tough time in this business, just reach out, diba? Reach out to someone, diba? Just reach out to have someone to talk to.
Yun. So, Habs, before I let you go, and ask the final question to everyone in the audience. Okay pa ba kayo? Nag-enjoy ba kayo? And siguro alam nyo na kung ano ipapa-comment ko. If you guys enjoyed this interview, which is the longest interview I've ever done, if you guys learned something new today, if this provided value to you in any way, guys, comment naman kayo ng Javi lang malupit. So, Habs, actually, after neto, after our interview, magpapa-raffle pa ako. You don't have to stay. You don't have to stay for the raffle. I don't want to take too much of your time anymore. But part of the raffle prizes is 3 months access to 3 winners of 3 months access to Open Journal. Right. So maybe for those in the audience who really enjoyed the interview and wants to continue to learn more from you, syempre they go to Open Journal. Maybe you could share with us know what Open Journal is all about, what they can expect if every day they're part of the community.
Right. So thanks, Tom, for that. So it's very simple what we do in Open Journal. It's really a community where we help Filipinos maximize and understand the opportunity available in the cryptocurrency market, right? And if you look at why that's been a focus for us, it's because it's just a result of trusting our process. Because as you know, Toma, um, we've modeled our whole approach and community after the Minervini model. And one of the biggest shifts that I had after going through the course or through the program by Minervini was to always pursue the leading sectors and the leading stocks, right? If every and here's the thing, if you look at the financial markets, and if every asset class was a stock, and if you were to pursue the strongest stock, that would be the cryptocurrency market. It really boils down to that. Even for those trading the Philippine market, it's a 250 billion market. Best case scenario, 2 years, it's going to be maybe a 500 billion market. That's compared to cryptocurrency, where it's 2 trillion going to 200 trillion in 20 years, right? So yung opportunity talaga is there, right? And that's really what we wanted, at least Philippines to take advantage of. And it's just, and we just feel that we're in the best position to do that. As you know, Toma, 2018 Investa Summit, we call the cycle turn, at least in the Philippine market. If you look at 2019, during the Investa Summit, 2019 was when we started advocating cryptocurrency, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if you recall back then, Toma, but kahit dun, binash din ako ng speaker after na cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And wait, we don't need to mention names, but in 2019, I said that in 2019, which was November, this was November, end of November 2019, I said that there was a bear market that was coming, another leg down. Obviously, we didn't know it was going to be COVID, but we said that there was going to be an 𝐈𝐍𝐹 6,000 kind of drop, right? That was in end of November 2019. And, the next speaker said, promoted the opposite move by pushing us down. That's fine. That's, sanay naman tayo dyan. And then even, this 2021, After speaking and teaching about cryptocurrency, the guy tells that, it's BS, it's BS. So, it's fine. Diba? Sanay na tayo dyan, diba? Um, so, going back to my point, 2019, we called the cycle turn in the Philippines. 2018, 2019, we started advocating. We said, I love you 6,000, stay away from the Philippines. And now what we're really saying is go to the cryptocurrency market because that is the market in the secular bull trend higher. That's the market where you have the strongest tailwind by far, where others are mostly headwinds if you're applying whatever system you're using. And if your objective is to simply make money, then that's where the market you're supposed to be, right? Um, so that's really just that's really what we're doing. We're the first. We're obviously the first to do it. We are the ones that had the courage to really do it, and courage really just starts from following your process, trusting your process, and that's really all we're doing in Open Journal. We're teaching everyone. We're teaching everybody how to take advantage of this new frontier because the difference between this frontier and past emerging asset classes is that, let's say, for example, dati, when emerging markets became a new asset class or commodities became a new asset class in the 70s, 80s, most of that opportunity or the would be taken advantage of by corporations that would grow to how many market cap. This is the first market class and the strongest market class at that, where it's going to be taken advantage of by communities and retail and institutions alike from people around the world, first world or third world, right? So, in fact, Philippines has an advantage because the tax codes are stricter in other countries, right? So, um, at least for now, right? So, but it's not. I'll be the first to say that yes, we're trying to help everybody understand and maximize the opportunity in the crypto space, but it's not going to be easy because we're still in a game where 80-90% lose money, let alone the cryptocurrency, which is X times more volatile, right? So what I'm going to say is that if you're a community, whether it's cryptocurrency, local, US market, all we're simply doing is reduce the mortality rate. That's it, right? That's all we're doing, right? Like if we can bring that mortality rate from 80-90% down to 70-60%, diba? Still doesn't, diba? The fact that so many people still lose money in this business, diba? That's just really the sad reality of this business. It's a tough business. And that only goes to show that just because you join a community, whether it's Open Journal or another community, doesn't mean that it's an automatic win already. You still have to put in the work. You still have to go through the process. You still have to learn and to really study all the stuff. And it's not going to be perfect. But if you're able to come out at least with a green P&L at some point in time, then lamang ka na towards all the 80-90% that tried to do it over the last few years. Diba? And if you're young, like Toma, like ikaw, I think kaka-21 mo lang, kaka-20 mo lang, di ba? 20.
Kaka, kaka 22 naman. Kaka 22 ko lang.
Yeah, so, I mean, you will be, maniwala ka sa akin, you will be a much, much, much better trader than a lot of who we are right now when you're at 27, 28 years old because you started so young, right? You just need to go through the pain if there is, I'm assuming, diba? So,
Yeah.
ganun talaga eh. Kasi every, diba? I mean, going back to what I said, 80-90% lose money over the long term. So every community, all the job simply is reduce the mortality rate. Can we bring it to zero? That might be a little unrealistic. Kasi even before putting up Open Journal, I would ask all the community heads, what percentage of your community do you think makes money? The median answer I got was 30%, one third, right? So it still means, and to me, that's the value of a community because it brought the number down from 85, 90% to 70%. Follow? And even back when I was teaching technical analysis with COL, right? I would teach technical analysis 5 hours every Saturday, every one Saturday every month for 5 years, for 5 hours per session. And I would ask Juanes at the time. I remember asking him one time, Juanes, if 85% of people who learn this stuff lose money, like 85% who get into trading, 90% lose money, then why are we still teaching this, right? When we know that dun din pupunta, diba? And I think the simple answer was you just have to focus yourselves on the people that make it, not those who not those who make it, right? And it's kind of right because I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for those classes in COL, right? Because I had to attend those classes to get better, right? And what about all the people I helped out who are now able to not just make a living but really quality of life, like Matt, right? Who was someone that I helped out through the years and is now in a position that's now helping other people and clients, diba? I mean, that's the only way to solve the problem of 80 to 90% of people losing money, right? I mean, you just have to be able to grow the models exponentially so they can be modeled out as well. That's just really all we're doing, man. I mean, 89% lose money if we're able to bring it down to 70%. But the sad reality is that, parang gera lang yan eh. 70% ng kasama mong sumugod, diba? Tatamaan din eh. That's just really what it is. And at least kami, we're trying to teach how to minimize that by just buying right and sitting tight in the strongest market ever, strongest uptrending market. That's all we're trying to do to really bring down that number, right? So that's all we can do. But people will need to do their part.
Yun. So I think that's a great way again to end everything. So guys, if you want to continue to learn from Javi, itong 2 hours 30 minutes na sinama natin tonight, ano lang yan, kapag yung mga monthly town hall namin, mga another 5 hours pa bago matapos. Pero hindi. May mga breaks naman yan, mga 1 minute song break. So guys, if you want to know more about Open Journal, if you guys want to learn directly from Javi, Matt, Joseph, and the entire community, just go to this link, investorgrams.com/p/Open Journal. So maybe I can put that in the chat. So guys, last night, if you guys enjoyed the past 2 hours and 30 minutes, type naman tayo ng thank you, Javi. Right? So Havs, I know medyo on vacation ka right now, right? In Tagaytay, don't want to take too much of your time. Really appreciate you being here with us tonight, sharing your wisdom, your experiences, preparing people for the Trading Cup that starts on Monday, guys. Sala na kayo. But yeah, Haps, from all personally, I really enjoyed. Totoo lang, I didn't want to do the interview. I wanted to just listen. This is one of those interviews na na gusto ko lang sana makinig, pero tas when you're done talking, mga pala, teka, may question pa ako susunod. But yeah, really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Yan ang gusto ko sa'yo, Tome. Pagdating sa pambobola, 100% hit ratio. No, but seriously speaking, thank you for having me here, and I hope you guys were able to learn something, and good luck to everyone participating in the upcoming Investor Cup.
Yun, Havs, thanks again. See you in a... Well, actually, I'm going to chat you something. I want to ask you something mamaya. But, yun, actually, the next segment of the entire program, so I'm going to do the raffle. You don't have to stay for that. You can leave the stream. But yeah, thanks again so much. And I'm sure the trading community with us tonight learned a lot. 2 hours and 30 minutes. Guys, if late kayo, may replay po ito. Sa Facebook page lang namin after I end the stream sa YouTube din. So make sure panoorin nyo ulit, right? Or panoorin nyo yung buo if maybe halfway na kayo nakapasok. So Havs, thanks again. Enjoy this every weekend. Ingat palagi. And hopefully, when the whole COVID thing goes away in the near future, magkita tayo ulit.
Yeah, for sure. Stay safe, guys, and happy weekend.
Alright. Thanks, Av. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yun. So, guys, ano, kamusta? Okay ba? Woo! Solid ba? Yun. So, hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. I purposely made sure that was the last interview before the Trading Cup. So guys, please bear with me, medyo hindi naman boring, pero mag-isa lang kasi ako eh. So I'm both the back end and the speaker. I'm just gonna be doing the raffle next for all of our double up pass users for the Instagram's Trading Cup. We're gonna be giving away, just to show to everyone. Guys, ito na, libreng open journal access. We're gonna be giving away una 10 slots to the Foundation of On Demand, which is trading community of Sir Irving Chin, Ninong Irvs. We're gonna be giving away in 3 months access to 3 winners of 3 months access to Open Journal. And again, if you guys wanna continue to learn from Javi, and he's someone who's my mentor as well. I mean, literally, totoo lang, kung real talk lang, since medyo ang ganda ng mga shinare ni Habs, I would have never imagined that I would be in the position to interview him and have a close relationship with him, diba, over the past couple of years. Kasi dati si JC tsaka si Javi, dati pinapanood ko lang sila, diba? And I don't know, I'm in such a blessed and privileged situation now where I'm able to not only learn directly from both of them, but also have a very good and close relationship, with Javi as our partners, Open Journal, my mentor, JC, CEO of Investa, diba? So it's really blessed to be in that situation. So yun, head over to instagrams.com/open journal. So guys, hopefully di pa kayo nauumay sa mukha ko kasi bukas magla-live pa ako ulit. So yun lang. And yeah, let's move on to the raffle. And of course, before I move on to the raffle, I would like to give a huge shout out to our major partner, right? Sa Instagram Trading Cup, this entire program, the interview I'm doing, and all of lahat ng mga paraffle natin, making our prize pool umabot ng 1 million. The entire Trading Cup wouldn't be possible without RCBC Security. So guys, sa mga nagtatanong, boss, anong okay na broker dyan? One we would definitely recommend from investors, RCBC Securities. Just head over to rcbcsec.com to check the platform out. May mobile app din yan, solid. I know some people from the management team, sobrang lupit nila as people, as traders. These are guys who have been in the markets for 30 years. And yun, sobrang solid the platform. Just check it out. So there we go. And of course, to our other partner, Nasdaq Clothing, who will also be providing one t-shirt giveaway for all of our Double Up Pass users tonight. And guys, malapit na. 1 million na yung premyo. Kayo na lang yung inaantay. Hopefully, na-inspire kayo dun sa talk ni Javi to join, right? So, let's move on with the raffle. Medyo marami pa para-raffle sa di kayo maboy. Okay, so wala akong music. Okay, teka. Paano ba to? Dami pa para-raffle. Okay, share screen. Here we go. Alright, there. Sana di ako mag-lag. So, game. So, let's start first with the 10. So, medyo marami pala, no? So, 10 slots to the Foundation On Demand, care of the Foundation, care of Ninong Irvs. Right? So, game. Oh no, is it lagging? I hope not. Teka. So, it's not, okay, wait. Let me stop the share first. One moment. I am sorry. Okay, there we go. Kita ba? There we go. Okay. So game, that's all of our Double Up Pass users. Syempre, tanggalin natin tong si username. Copy-paste lang kasi, sorry. Let's call on our first winner. So out of 10 people, right? So our number 1. So medyo bibilisan lang natin, ha. Congratulations to, nililista naman to ng CS team namin. Nanonood din ngayon. Our first winner, congratulations to Jade Javu. So Jade Javu, panalo ka ng 1 slot to the Foundation On Demand. Let's call on winner number 2. Winner number 2, congratulations to Rob Daman. So Rob Daman, congrats. You are our second out of 10. That 2 out of 10. Let's call on our third winner. Our third winner is Mlek ACL. Congrats, you are our third winner. So guys, lahat to mga double up pass users sa Trading Cup. And if di ka pa nanalo, so pang-apat to, di ba? So pang-apat to. If di pa kayo nanalo tonight, di kayo manalo tonight, tomorrow actually marami rin tayong pamimigay. Sa mga ahabol pa, you have a chance to join the raffle pa tomorrow. So our fourth winner, Justin Floresca. Congratulations. Let's call on our fifth winner ng The Foundation of Demand Care of Ninong Irving Chin. Congratulations to Jay Hanapol 25. So Jay, congrats, panalo ka. Our sixth winner, congratulations sa'yo. 𝐈𝐍𝐓𝐄𝐑𝐕𝐈𝐄, congrats. You're our sixth winner, our seventh winner. Congratulations to Benevolent. You are our seventh winner ng The Foundation on Demand from Care of Ninong Herbs. Our eighth winner. So third to the last, 𝐄𝐒𝐄𝐑. 𝐄𝐒𝐑, congrats sa'yo. Our ninth, our second to the last for the... What's this? Oh, okay, it's a survey. Oh, I clicked the ad. Never mind. Ninth winner. So, tama. So, second to the last. Dinonut. Dinonut, congratulations. And now our final winner for tonight. For the Foundation on Demand, meron pang open journal. Congratulations sa'yo. Red Wings. Red Wings, panalo ka ng The Foundation on Demand, care of Ninong Irving Chin. So, yun. So, ang next natin yung pamimigay is one t-shirt from Nasdaq Clothing. And then 3 months access, 3 winners of 3 months access to open journal. So, oh, wait. Ano nangyari? Okay, wait. Balik natin. Share screen. By the way, guys, medyo pangit quality ng ano ko ngayon. I'm actually using a laptop. That's not mine. Kasi my laptop's been bugging. And yun. Medyo nagkamaraming technical difficulties. But luckily, we're able to work it out. So, game. Our one winner ng t-shirt from Nasdaq Clothing. Make sure you check out their social media, Nasdaq Clothing, and their upcoming website. They're gonna have that too. Congratulations, Cedric Coro. Vince Coro. Ikaw ba to, Vince? Di ba kayo hindi Cedric na eh. So Cedric, congrats at panalo ka ng t-shirt from Nasdaq Clothing. So guys, meron akong kailangan aminin sa lahat. Babawi ako bukas. Tanggalin ko muna yung share screen. For our live viewers, hindi ako makakapag-paraffle ng 500 tonight kasi wala akong kasama para isama lahat ng names nyo. Everyone was not available tonight. I'm really sorry kasi Saturday night, and I think a lot of my teammates, there's one in the province, another province na nagbakasyon. So what I'm gonna do to make it up to everyone, we're gonna give away 2,000 tomorrow. So 4 na winners of 500. Everyone who qualified for the 500 dapat today will include your names in the list tomorrow. So technically kasama na rin pa rin naman kayo. Pero bukas siya yung chance ma-draw bukas na kasama yung mga shares tomorrow. So yun lang, just wanted to apologize for that. Kasi I can't do it while I'm doing the live, no? Kasi it's a manual process to get all the names to do that, no? That's gonna take me about 10 minutes. So I don't want and I actually don't know how they do it. They didn't teach me. But yun. So ang next natin ipamimigay is 3 winners of 3 months access to Open Journal. And guys, I know Open Journal is a partner of Investa. So, but from a personal standpoint, isa lang masabi ko. Iba yung level ng learning sa mga kuha mo sa Open Journal. And I'm not saying that because Javi was the guest. I say that every week, right? Sa mga charting sessions because, I'm very privileged to be able to learn from him, from Joseph, from Matt directly, and to have them as our partners sa Investa, diba? Our content partners. And something that stuck with me na JC told me a long time ago was kapag pipili ka ng quote-unquote mentor in any craft, diba? Or pipili ka someone you wanna apprentice under or you wanna stand on, sabi niya, you wanna stand on the shoulders of giants, a basic criteria na dapat meron ka is yung tao na kung saan the person you're going to want to learn from, dapat minimum yung meron na siya is 10x ng goal mo. Meaning, kapag ang goal mo 1 million, sa trading na to, kapag ang goal mo 1 million, yung mentor mo or someone you want to learn from should at least have 10 million in trading or sorry, I'm stuttering. Or dapat nag-grow niya yung 40 to 10 million, di ba? Hindi siya parang nag-start 8 million in savings, naging 10 million. Dapat nag-grow, may consistent track record of performance. If goal mo 10 million, you should have someone who's able to handle 100 million, right? And that 10x factor, sabi ko, okay, si JC, si Berrio, si Javi. I forgot to mention Berrio pala a while ago, but he's also someone I learned from directly. So, yun. No, and that's the basic filter kung bakit sa open journal ako sumama. Right? And I've been there since day one, August 2019. And the only regret I have is when they brought up cryptocurrency in August 2019, nung hindi pa siya uso, hindi ako nakinig agad. Diba? So, that's the only regret I have. I was able to partake in that opportunity as early as then. But, for the most part, it has been a enjoyable, I mean, the level of content, the value provided is, I believe, nothing can match it, as an open journal, right? So, anyway, yun lang. That's my marketing spiel. The joke lang. That's my true feedback and experience sa loob ng OJ. Right? And those guys, Javi, Matt, and Joseph, tatlo lang sila, but they will reply to you. If may tanong ka, they will reply to you immediately. I mean, hindi naman immediately, pero within the day, a couple of hours. Busy rin sila. But yun, yeah. And I know those guys personally, right? And sobrang lupit nila. Na hindi lang trader, pero mga tao. Very good hearts, right? Very, as Javi said, they're givers, right? So anyway, so yun lang. Di ko na papatagalin pa kasi gutom na ako, di pa ako makain. Which was a bad idea. Interviewing ko si Javi. Alam ko na naaabot kami ng mga 2 hours. So bakit di mo na ako kumain? Will always be a mystery to me. Okay, game. So our 3 winners ng 3 months access to open journal. Let's call on the first. So congratulations to you. Panalo ka ng 3 months access to open journal. Congratulations to 𝐈𝐍3M. So 𝐈𝐍3M, congrats. Panalo ka ng 3 months access to open journal. And guys, if excited kayo sa next 2 winners or sa Investa Cup, guys, comment naman kayo ng hashtag Investa Cup lang malupit. Dahil 2 days na lang po at magsisimula na. So our next winner, congratulations to Mr. Kairos, at panalo ka ng 3 months access to open journal. And our final winner for tonight, if hindi ka pa nanalo, hopefully bukas, swertein ka kasi marami tayong ipamimigay tomorrow. Our final winner for tonight of 3 months access to open journal, congratulations sa'yo, Guafito. So, kasama na ba ito sa OG? Siyempre di ko alam, pero familiar yung username. So, Guafito, congratulations at panalo ka ng 3 months access to open journal. So that basically wraps up everything for tonight. So guys, final plug. Trading Cup, malapit na po. Just head over to instagrams.com/tradingcup to secure your competition pass. The last day to join is tomorrow. We're starting on Monday. Here's your chance to prove you're one of the, not just to prove, but just to gauge, just to grow. Diba? Sabi nga ni Javi, it's an opportunity to grow as a trader. Diba? So yun, hopefully we can see you there. Prizes, the total worth of prizes are 1 million, more than 1 million. And marami pang parating na premyo. We're just finalizing a few things and hopefully we can announce it to everyone. It's going to be really exciting. So yeah. So head over to instagrams.com/tradingcup. So guys, medyo pagod ako doon. That was a long, almost 3 hours. Gutom na ako. That was a long interview, but definitely fulfilling interview, right? And maraming wisdom, maraming golden nuggets. I intentionally made the interview that way, na may mga, besides trading, maraming life lessons kasi I wanted to extract as much wisdom from Javi as I could. And I think I was able to do a good job of that. So Habs, I don't know if you're still watching, but man, thanks for being with us tonight. Really, really appreciate your time, even if you're on vacation. The whole open journal team, right? Thank you for, providing value to our community. And to everyone watching, thank you so much for your time, your Saturday nights. Joining it with spending your Saturday nights with me and in Investa with Avi. Really, really appreciate you guys as well. For the nice words from everyone saying thank you to me. Thank you to you guys, right? We wouldn't be in this position without the community. So yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna eat dinner, maybe watch a movie. That's what I do every Saturday. I watch 1 to 2 movies a week to try and relax. Tapos banat na naman bukas. So live charting session tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Yeah, live charting session tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So see you guys tomorrow and maraming salamat. I will end the stream now. Good night and kita-kits tayo bukas. Kasama ko bukas hopefully si Renzo pag hindi potso yung internet niya. Medyo na problema internet niya ngayon. If not, tayong dalawa magkasama tayo ulit. So yun lang. Good night guys and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye. Peace out.